Hey to the most amazing nurses. It is Dr. V here with Morning Infusion with Dr. V podcast, where we are intentional about teaching nurses how to work from anywhere around the world, making money and owning your own time, building profitable nurse coaching and consulting businesses. You will hear from amazing guests that have grown their companies and want to share insight into how you can do the same to change the face of healthcare as we know it. If you want to grow your businesses and leverage your knowledge as a nurse to grow wildly successful businesses at the top, instead of working your way to the top, head on over and join our Millionaire Nurse CEO group on Facebook, where you can ask questions and get updates on our live and virtual events to help you grow your businesses. Good morning, good morning. So we have Candace Guinn who is with us this morning. So Candace, give us a little bit about your bio. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, right. Well, I'm Candace Guinn. I am a copywriter and marketing and communications specialist. I help people to really share their story and build their authority online, on stages, or wherever it is that they're showing up without the fear of speaking.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So we're going to go back. We always go back. Now, typically we have healthcare professionals, but Candace and I go way back. So we decided we were going to have to do this podcast partly because, number one, Candace is a marketing and communication specialist. And one of the things that we know is that marketing is highly important, and people don't really understand that. Like they have the craft, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand that you've got to market it because then people won't know that you have the craft, right? So let's kind of go back to like your background. Like how did you where did you start out in this whole process?
If we're going back to the very beginning, I published my first work of anything when I was in the fourth grade. I've always had a love for writing, probably because I had this incredible fear of speaking. Um, I used to, get home in the afternoons. This is back when everybody had like I don't even remember what they call it. When you call, leave a message and you could like hear it, you play it, at the house. And I heard my voice one time and I was like, I sound like that. And it scared me. And from then, I just developed this fear of speaking. I was like, I don't want anyone to hear me like that because that's not how I sound to myself. It sounds so much better in my head. So I just picked up this love for writing, and I had a teacher who really nurtured that. And I started writing stories about people, about friends, and then just writing about anything. And I've always maintained this love for writing. Um, Up through high school, college, worked on newspaper staffs, worked at our local newspaper, worked on my college newspaper. And I never even saw myself doing this type of work in this capacity. I didn't know it was a thing. I wanted to be a journalist. I thought I wanted to be a reporter. My very first interview was with Nikki Giovanni, one of my favorite writers. And I really felt like that's where I was going to land and find myself. But, a few years later, God had other plans and I was really kind of thrown into this work. And so it's been a few years of finding my way and as a result, helping other people to find their way, find their voice.
So let me ask you something. So you said that you never thought that you were going to be in this type of work. So tell me like a little bit about the journey. How did you even get to this type of work?
Mm-hmm.
Because you do marketing and communications.
Mm-hmm.
And so specifically, because marketing can be broad, communications can be
Yes.
broad, right?
Yes.
So specifically tell us what you exactly do.
I am a copywriter, so you'll find me writing emails, text messages, captions on social media, blog posts, um, website copy, anywhere that your brand message or your brand voice shows up. You'll have someone like me behind the scenes actually putting that writing together. How I got started doing that specifically, everyone around me knows I love to write, knows I'm pretty good at it. And I had a couple of friends reach out. One in particular had a nonprofit, and she's like, "Hey, we've got this big opportunity coming up. We need to do some. We need like some press kits, and I don't even know what a press kit is." And I was like, "Oh, I can help with that. I've got a bit of a PR background, so let me put
What is
together
a
some
press
things for you."
kit?
And I haven't done one. I probably haven't done a press kit in like 10 years. So a press kit is just going to have some information about you, some brochures, a bit about your organization or your business. It's going to highlight some activity that you've been a part of. It's going to highlight some accolades and things that you've been a part of. It's going to give whatever media outlet, so whether it's a newspaper or a magazine, it's going to give their marketing team something to work with when they're writing about you. So I'll put a couple of those together for her, which in turn resulted in me doing a couple of other things for her. She's like, "Hey, that press kit was great. We've gotten some grant funding as a result of that. We've gotten to be on some stages that we never thought possible. It's a nonprofit to help children in foster care and adoptive kids and their caregivers." And she was like, "We're gonna need more stuff." And I'm like, "Listen, I don't do this professional. I don't really know what I'm doing." She was like, "Well, whatever it is working, so I need some more of it." And I'm like, "Okay, well, let's go. What's next?" She was like, "Well, what's next is I need a website." And I'm like, "Okay." And so just kind of talking through, looking at websites and talking through what needed to be on there and getting the information out. And from there, another friend called and she's like, "Hey, for my business, I'm gonna need some things. I got invited to do this coaching program, and I'm just lost. I've been in it for like 16 weeks, and I have no like I'm still lost. I still feel like I'm just trying to get my feet wet. I don't know what I'm doing." And I was like, "Well, what is it? What do you have questions about?" And she started asking a couple questions, and I broke it down the best way I could, having no formal training. And she got quiet. And I was like, "Well, I that's just what I think, but just do what you feel like is best." And she's like, "No, it's not that." She was like, "But you're absolutely right." And I don't even remember what the advice was, to be honest. All I remember was her saying, "I've paid tens of thousands of dollars to be a part of this coaching program, and none of it has made sense. And you've made sense of 4 months of work in 30 minutes."
Mm.
And she said, "And it's already cost me over $10,000, and I
Wow.
still got more to go." And she was like, "You should do something with that." And I'm like, "I don't know what to do with it." And she was like, "You should really be charging for this." And I was like, "You know what? I really should." She's like, "No, send me an invoice." And I was like, "For how much?" She was like, "Send me an invoice, whatever it is, I'll pay it." So here I am on my computer trying to figure out what an invoice is, how to create one. I'm on Google. And so somehow I managed to get one together on like PayPal or something. And I sent her one and she immediately paid it. And that was the first time I'd ever gotten paid for any type of marketing and consulting consultations. And I was like, this might be a thing. Let's see. Let's see. From there, I got into email marketing. Can't even quite remember how that happened. I really think it was just doing it for myself, trying to develop my own brand, trying to um, get things together for my business and not knowing what I was doing, but trial and error. And people were coming, showing up left and right, subscribing to the mailing list. And I was like, "Oh, this is a thing. People are actually coming to hear what I have to say." Phone blowing up off the hook. I like at one point I remember being like, "Okay, look, there's no more time in my day. I'm spending all of my time on the phone with people, and we got to figure something else out." So getting online, I think COVID helped me quite a bit because at that point I was able to kind of really see how these things are falling into place. More and more people doing online marketing, more and more people realizing the need for messaging that stuck around when they weren't able to. Um, And that really kind of allowed me to find my footing and find a place where I could share my expertise and share my experiences with people and create an actual system for it because I didn't have one. I was completely winging it. And so just having to say, okay, well, what's working here? Let's just take what's actually working, do more of that. The stuff that's not working, let's either scrap it or tweak it and keep the ball rolling from there.
I love it. It's funny how you brought up invoices because we were talking last night. We were in a business group last night, and one of the things that we talked about is the fact that like some people just don't even know what a W-9 is.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't even know what an invoice is.
Mm-hmm.
Some people just don't know what these things are, right? And when you're doing business and you're doing it the right way,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have to know these things. Like two of the most important people in your business is your lawyer and your CPA, right? And obviously your copywriting marketing person, because you have to be very intentional about
Mm-hmm.
getting your message out there. And so, people get 70,000, pings to their brain every day, right?
It's a lot
And
of things.
understanding how to break through the noise is key. And that is where I see that you come in. And so tell me a little bit about why didn't you like your voice on that? And how did you just turn that thing around? Because now you don't have
Mm-hmm.
fear speaking.
Yeah. I think the main thing was what scared me the most was that's not how I sound in my head. I don't sound like that's not me. I don't sound like that. And I was really upset about it. And this was, I mean, I was a kid. And my mom came home and she was like, what's wrong? And she was like, I was like, can you listen to something? And she was like, yeah. And I played it back and I was like, do I sound like this? And she said, yeah, that's you. I said, but I sound like that to you, like you and dad and my brothers and sisters, like that's what y'all hear when I talk. And she said, yeah.
Sound to you. I mean, like,
I sounded really young. I was like, I sound like a baby. I sounded young. My voice sounded, I sounded immature, and I sounded really unsure of myself. And it was me calling the house, leaving a message for my parents, letting them know I was home, um, or trying to remind them of something. And now, as a copywriter, I find that I'm helping people with that same issue. I don't sound like this. I sound unsure of myself. That's how my messaging sounds. Like this isn't me. I don't sound confident in my offer. I don't sound confident in the solution that I provide, and I am. I'm confident in what I have. I know I have a great product. I know I have a great service. I know I have a great coaching program. But when I'm saying it to people online or on stages, it doesn't sound like that. It doesn't sound like the great program I know that it is. So how do I fix that? And it's like, oh, well, that's probably more than likely a messaging thing. A lot of times people are like, oh, well, my marketing's wrong. I'm doing all the things. I've got email lists going out. I've got text messages going out. I'm posting on socials and nothing. I'm not getting any type of engagement. It's like it's falling on deaf ears. I feel like I'm talking to a wall. This doesn't sound like me. I'm so much more confident in person. Why doesn't it sound like this online? It's probably not your marketing. It's probably your messaging. So what is it that you're really trying to do? What is the transformation that you're actually trying to bring about for people? What is the thing that you are absolutely sure? What's the problem that you can absolutely solve for people? And they're able to tell me that. And I'm like, well, just say that. And I'm like, what do you mean? Just say that. Exactly what you just told me. Just say that in your messaging. You're trying to make it sound clever and you're trying to make it sound like someone else that you've heard. And that's not you. That ain't you. And that's okay. It should absolutely sound like you.
I find that to be very, very true. When you're talking about messaging, that is
Mm-hmm.
huge because people are like, they want to use these 50 cents words. First of all, you need to break it down.
Mm-hmm.
You need to break it down to where like the layman man can understand it, right? because
Mhm.
the more you break it down to where, and especially, us healthcare professionals, I love us, okay? But we try to use all these 50-cent words. And the reality is that people just, people will lead other people to you,
Mhm.
even if they don't need your service, because they understand at a very minute level how to do the thing. So I love it. And you do it via a special route. So hold
Mhm.
on. We got another commercial coming, but after this, we're gonna find out how she does it. All right. Hey to the most amazing nurses. It is Dr. V here with Morning Infusion with Dr. V podcast, where we are intentional about teaching nurses how to work from anywhere around the world, making money and owning your own time, building profitable nurse coaching and consulting businesses. You will hear from amazing guests that have grown their companies and want to share insight into how you can do the same to change the face of healthcare as we know it. If you want to grow your businesses and leverage your knowledge as a nurse to grow wildly successful businesses at the top, instead of working your way to the top, head on over and join our Millionaire Nurse CEO group on Facebook, where you can ask questions and get updates on our live and virtual events to help you grow your businesses. So you help people with storytelling.
Mhm.
Okay? So tell us, because we talked about this, the 5 unique types of stories
Mhm.
that you tell. What are
Mhm. So a lot of times you'll hear, marketing professionals tell you, you got to tell your story. You got to tell your story if you want to connect with people. You have to tell your story, and it's like, okay, what story? Where do I start? Does it need to be a rags to riches story? Do they want me to go back to my childhood, or is it the start of my career? Because I've made so many pivots, like, I don't know where to start. And my response to that was, it's not necessarily one particular story that you're telling over and over and over again, but it's 5 unique types of stories that you're telling to make connections with people. The first one being the shared experience story. This is like the easiest story to tell. A shared experience story is simply one that you tell this story. It's something that generally happens to people. Um, so yesterday I was on a call. A few of the shared experience stories we talked about were gathering with family or gathering with friends for the holidays, favorite holiday traditions, things like that. Things people can easily connect with, easily resonate with. You see it a lot with if you like to watch stand-up comedy. A lot of comedians use a lot of shared experience stories. They're easily relatable, no matter if you're male, female, no matter if you're young, old. No matter if you're black, white, Hispanic, we can all relate to these things happening. Shared experience stories are also the reason memes are so popular. Memes can just simply be, it's a picture, and no matter what language you speak, you can understand the heart of what's going on. That's the power of a shared experience story, something easily relatable for anyone in your audience. Next one is your transformation testimonial. The key for this one is understanding that you are your very first and most powerful testimonial. So even if you're starting out, you have a particular system or you have a particular strategy that has worked for you. And you're so confident in it because you know that it's transformed your life in a major way or transform your business in a major way. And also just leveraging the testimonials of others that they have for you. So a transformation testimonial, just being able to show how your solution has brought about a transformation for someone. The next one is the one that people just assume is the one story you have to tell. And this is your origin or your overcoming story. So this is simply the story of how you got started with a thing or how you overcame a particular issue. Doesn't have to be the same one every time either. So it's just how you overcame a particular obstacle. The next one is a rite of passage story. And so the rite of passage story really chronicles a journey from point A to point B. It's the focus of the rite of passage story is to just hit very particular milestones. One of my favorite examples to use for this is, you remember being a kid going to church and wearing those little white ruffle socks.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like every little girl starts out wearing those little cute little white ruffle socks, and then you get a little older, and they don't even make the little white ruffle socks in your size, and so you end up getting your first pair of like white stockings. You get you some white stockings, and then you wear those white stockings for a while, and then you outgrow all the white stockings, and then you have to get your first pair of like flesh tone stockings. You remember like coffee? That was my color, coffee or jet black. And you get you some stockings, and then after a while you get too grown and you start filling out, and you have a bit more agency over what you can wear to church, and you're like, I ain't wearing no stockings somewhere. It's bare legs from here on out until I start wearing pants to church. We go at bare legs. So that's just like a rite of passage. So being able to, and you see how like your face lit up because you remember, So rite of passage stories are going to chronicle that. How it looks like or how it might translate to business is, first sale, first 100K day, first 10,000, first 100,000, but those particular milestones, and they don't have to be revenue milestones. They can be milestones in your particular process. And then finally, you have your unique experience story. So your unique experience story is similar to the shared experience story, but these are actually based on your own personal experiences. So these are, they could possibly be relatable to the rest of your audience, but they're at the heart of it. They are things that you have actually experienced that you're able to share with your audience. So those are the 5 story types. I've been developing this strategy for over a year, and being able to actually explain to people what it is in like the simplest terms possible is something I actually picked up from my daughter. She just turned 6, and one day she was uh, asking to go to Starbucks or something, and I was like, "You got Starbucks money?" And she was like, "I think you have Starbucks money." I was like, "What makes you think I have Starbucks money?" And she was like, "Well, you were on your computer today, so you were working, so you should have some money, right?" And I'm like, "So that's how you think it works?" She
Look,
was like,
we
"Yeah,
used to think that just because you had a check, right?
yeah,
We used to think that that was it. But now it's
yeah.
changed. You're on your computer. So
You're on your computer. You gotta have some money because you're working." And I'm like, I see how the wheels are turning. And I asked her, I said, "Well, what type of work do you think mommy does?" I said, "I know, like, what?" I said, "I know you know the kind of work dad does." She's like, "Yeah, my dad's a mechanic. He's the best mechanic in the world. He can fix anything." I said, "Well, what kind of work do you think mommy does?" And she said, "Well, you work on the computer." I said, "Well, do you know what I do on the computer?" She said, "Yeah, you help people tell stories." And I was like, "That's it." I've been trying to figure out how to make this sound just so and to make it sound appealing. And at the end of the day, you know what I do? I help people tell stories. You are absolutely right. And even now, people, "So what do you do?" "I help people tell stories."
out of the mouth of babes.
Out of the mouths of babes. I gotta put sis on the payroll.
You need to have on the payroll.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, because you developed this storytelling academy. I don't know if it's an academy or not, but you developed this way of telling stories. Tell
Mhm.
me about, how did you overcome your fear of speaking? Because you had a fear of speaking, correct?
Yes. Still do.
Do you?
I get nervous every time I have to talk in front of people. And I just figured at one point or another there would come a time where I'm just not afraid anymore. And then I started talking to people who actually speak professionally. I do it because I have to. Professionally, I write on my computer and I speak when I have to. But talking to people who have made speaking their profession. And it's like, yeah, still get nervous when I get on stage because your words have power and you want to make sure that they land correctly. And there are people who are clinging on to what you say. And this comes with building your authority. It's the responsibility that comes from building your authority online and on stages. People come to trust your authority and hang on to every word you say and take the steps that you say to take. And in a sense, hold you accountable for it, whether they go right or they go wrong. And so there's always this fear of speaking. So overcoming it, um, getting the reps in, doing the repetition, And I know that sounds like super cliche, but one thing that has helped me as a writer is I understand my system. I understand the thing that I do well, and I'm able to speak about it confidently. So people ask me about storytelling or people ask me about copywriting. I can answer those questions with confidence because I've spent time with those questions. And I would say that's probably one of my biggest cheat codes is to spend time with your stories, spend time with the questions that the frequently asked questions that people have. Spend time practicing answering those questions. Um, and look for opportunities to share the experience and share the expertise. A lot of times people are waiting for Dr. V to invite them on a podcast episode or waiting for someone to reach out and have them come in and speak to their community. But in between time, what do? You have so many ways that you can share your voice. Social media being one, and that's not really social media is not really my ministry, and I feel like I'm not alone with that. If social media is not your ministry, there are a ton of other outlets that you can use for your voice. You probably won't ever see me go live on Instagram, but I do host Q&As every Tuesday on Zoom, and I love doing those. I love feeling like I'm in the room with people. I love feeding off people's energy when their cameras are on and I can see them smiling, or I see their kids running in the background, they're jumping on their lap, and they're able to ask questions, and I'm able to answer those questions. I love that. So doing Q&As, um, social media, whether it's reels, and you're making videos, that's not really my thing, or whether it's carousels where you pose a question and offer three solutions in those carousel slides, and then have your call to action in the last slide, um, or whether it's sharing a blog post or sharing an email series where you're sharing your expertise, or whether it's just doing a free training or doing a webinar or doing like a quick 15-minute something that you record on Zoom and you can just stream it into your Facebook group. There's so many ways to just share your story and share your expertise. But being able to share that story and make that connection frequently has really helped me to overcome that fear of speaking.
I love it. I think, you said something that was very powerful, that your words they do hold power, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that people, sometimes we have to be very clear on that
Mm-hmm.
as we're speaking, in TDJ's book, Don't Drop the Mic, that's one of the things that he talks about, is that we do have power and that we can't drop the mic and that we
Mm-hmm.
have to be that representation and that we have to speak on things that are not normally spoken about, especially whenever we're passionate about them. But another thing too is this is one of the ways in which I overcome speaking, the fear of speaking, because I get nervous whenever I get on stage as well. But one of the ways in which, and one of the young ladies, she's a colleague of mine, and she said to embody the speech. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
so you just know exactly that speech to the core of what it is, and also taking it, because when you have the longer speeches, one of the things that you want to do is you want to take the front end of the speech, you want to take the middle of the speech, and then you want to take the end of the speech, and then practice them separately. Because what happens a lot of times, this is what I found out, is that you perfect the front end of the speech because you
Mm-hmm.
always start out with that one, right? And then the middle, not so much. And then the last, that was just thrown away because half the time you don't even get to that one that you're practicing, right? And so really breaking the speech up so that you can really, really hone into those is really key, and in understanding how to do the speaking, because it can be something. And I think another thing too is when we focus on, number one is focusing on the purpose behind the speech,
Mm-hmm.
and why are you even there. Number two, like you said, getting your reps in. I mean, continuously getting your reps in. The more
Yeah.
that you speak, the better that you become, right? And also understanding that they don't really care about you. This is the thing that I had to
Not about you.
they don't care nothing about you.
Nothing.
About you. They care about themselves. And so when you can focus on the fact that they care about themselves and they really don't care about you and they just want their transformation,
Mm-hmm.
then it makes it so much easier to
Yeah.
deliver that
Yeah.
to them. That's huge, huge, huge. So, Candace, tell us where we can find you at, my ma'am.
You can find me on Threads. I'm loving Threads right now. Threads. And Instagram and TikTok at Candace D. Guinn.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. So you guys go and follow her. We have our masterclass. Our next free masterclass is coming up November 14th. You have the opportunity to sign up for it, a VIP where you get to ask me questions. We also have a Black Friday sale, and there ain't but 20 people that we're gonna let into this Black Friday sale. Okay, so it's gonna be January 6th. Is gonna be when we're actually gonna have the class, or it's going to go on sale before Black Friday, and then you again only 20 people, and it's a decreased price, a deeply decreased price. So if you go to vpnursing.com, you'll see the Black Friday sale or the VIP day, which is going to be a VIP day. Well, we'll teach you how to, really leverage your entire year. I'll tell you the secrets that we use in order to have a six-figure year. So if you want to know how to do that, okay, I encourage you to come to that. So, Candace, it's been an amazing time with you. And thank you, thank you, thank you for
Of course.
this morning.
Always a pleasure, Dr. V.